Hello, everyone. It's 9 o'clock Eastern time on a Wednesday. You know what that means. It's time for the live show. As you can see from the background, I am back in Florida. I flew down here Monday night. I watched most of the movie, the James Bond movie, No Time to Die. And unfortunately, the flight was not long enough to watch all of it. So I didn't see the ending, but maybe I will get to one of these days soon. I'm a huge James Bond fan. I thought it was pretty good. It was good. I was certainly, when I started looking through what Southwest had to offer for streaming on the flight, I looked at that and I was like, wow, that's fantastic. And so the flight went very, very fast. It's like a 2-hour flight or something like that. And it went very fast because I was so engrossed in the James Bond movie. But yeah, here we are. I'm back. I've been here back a couple days. Still, I'm not sure. It's probably going to take a little while to get comfortable back here because I was away for so long, 5 weeks and 2 days. And there you go. So who's in here to start? Who was in here first? Laura. It's about that time. You're right. Delane says she keeps forgetting to upgrade your membership. I'm going to be talking about that tonight, Delane, so you will get reminded. Screaming. Everybody's wondering, look at Screaming. She got that pretty green name. That's because Screaming is a member at the YouTube special membership site here on YouTube that I will talk about later about joining. Hello, Jasmine. Hello, The Real from coming to us from Australia. Great to see you. One of my favorite people, Joyce Rivatuzo, is in the chat tonight. Of course, former guest of Unfound. I hope everybody says hi to her. Hello, Charlotte. Charlotte also displaying her colors and her badge as well. Twinkle, thank you. Moderator Cherie, good to see you. Screaming. Laura says, signing up. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for considering it. Signing up for membership as we speak. Looking forward to the daily videos. I've got to it a little late today, Laura, but simply because I had to clean myself up a little bit. That's probably going to be the biggest thing about doing the update videos is I'd like to look a little presentable. The Real, you look to be happy back in. You look happy to be back. The Real. I am The Real in a couple ways. I'm not, and I'll get to that in a moment. Hello, Marlene. Good to see you. Yeah, please. As Screaming is reminding everybody, as you are watching tonight, whether live or somewhere down the road, please give this video a thumbs up. Helps us with the algorithms. That's an automatic. That should just be automatic. You get in, you hit the button to get to this link, and it should be automatic. Just hit the ups button, the thumbs up button. Hello, Karen. Marlene, always eating pizza. Always. Pizza is always a Wednesday for Marlene. And K-Dog and I are actually going to meet in person on Friday, which I'm really looking forward to. We're going to be meeting at a place that I've not been to before, so that should be fun. Jill also displaying her badge from being a member, joining this membership that I have here on YouTube. That's how you get that special coloring. And we run away from home in our youth, and then we age, we miss home. I guess, Twinkle, yeah. Delane, dealing with estate stuff and income tax returns is still recovering from COVID yet again, so my mind isn't functioning all cylinders. Delane, I kind of feel the same way. Funny you should mention that. K-Dog says, can't wait. Thank you, K-Dog. Marlene says, once a week only on the pizza. Marlene, are you having, what kind of pizza is it tonight? I know probably I've asked you this before. Is this like frozen kind and you put it in the oven or something, or did you order out, or what did you do? Everybody wants to know, and we certainly want to know what you got on it. So like I said, please give this video a thumbs up as you are watching tonight, or as you are watching later if you're watching in the replay. Back in Florida, after 5 weeks and 2 days, I have to tell you, it was the fastest 5 weeks and 2 days of my life. I was, my brother Brian picked me up at the airport on Monday night, and it was just like he dropped me off. It was so weird. It's so weird. I was telling him, it was just like he'd come down and I was standing out there waiting for him on that Saturday morning. And here he was already driving me back here. It's just so weird. Just so involved in things up there. And, it's, I had Dad and I did a lot. When it snowed, we went and did some four-wheeling. We went to a basketball game. We had did a lot of breakfast eating, going out to eating for breakfast, which is something I never do here. But we did that. Dad had like 5 different places that he kind of rotates. We'd go to each one each day. I would take him to church, drop him off and pick him up because I'm afraid if I walked in, I might go up in flames. What else did we do? We did fondue. Of course, I talked about that. A lot of people came over. I went and saw my buddy Brad. Unfortunately, I wish I could have seen him more than I did. It snowed like the first 2 weeks I was there, so it was great. And then the last 3 weeks, it was kind of that drab, late winter type of weather in Pennsylvania, which I hate. Doesn't know if it wants to snow, doesn't know if it wants to rain. It's like 35 degrees. Like I've said, if I'm going to be there, I want it 3 below, snowing, and that's what I kind of got when I first got there. But after the first couple weeks, it kind of, got a lot warmer, got a lot milder, even though, I had some beautiful days looked at, but it's just so drab. What else did we do? Dad and I watched a lot of Jeopardy. We watched a lot of Family Feud. Helped him out with his banking and stuff. He's changed checking accounts, so I set up a lot of his automatic payments and things, and moving from one account to the other, which he's able to do, but I can do it so much faster than he can. Not bragging. It's just, what was weird is, I didn't bring that many clothes with me. So I did a lot of wearing of the same clothes day in, and I would, maybe take a shower every second day or something like that. So there's that. But my dad can't drive right now. I'm hoping that he gets his license back very soon. I still believe that he's a very good driver. I think he got screwed over by what happened. I don't want to get into it. And so we have to hope that justice prevails here. I'm hoping. So there's that. Got to meet, hang out with my dad's friend Dottie, who I like a lot. She cares a lot about my dad quite a bit. She lives across the street. And so I helped her out with some computer things. We went up to trivia on Saturday night. They had it up at this clubhouse that they have there. And of course, my team ended up winning by a lot. So I ended up getting a Dunkin' Donuts gift card. So that was nice. And so there you go. So that was really, and tried to get some work done. The tough thing about being at my dad's, obviously I got the episodes done, did some phone calls, did some interviews and things, but I'm just not as efficient up there. If I'm going to be there, I do want to give my dad some time. I would give him like 2 to 3 hours a day. Would go out to breakfast, ride around for a bit, do a little shopping. I'd come home, do some work. And then, I'd always come out for 7 o'clock for Jeopardy and, Family Feud at 7:30, and maybe would watch something after that. Sometime, we watched a couple movies. We watched The Guns of Navarone, watched a little James Bond that was on. And maybe you saw that one day. Many of you who follow my personal Facebook page, we went up to the cemetery where all of my ancestors are buried. Densel's going back a few generations. Just kind of cruised around. I was actually on some roads that I had never been on before. So, we did a little bit of that. Went to see my brother Michael at his place once. He came up to our place twice. Went to see my sister once, or I did see him at see her at my brother's, but the next day we went over to her place and helped her husband moved some countertops, which was very difficult. So a lot went on, and it just went so fast. It's just crazy. I can't even tell you. I will tell you, I spent, when my mother died in November of 2018, November 28th, 2018, I was up there from like the middle of November till the end of January. And what would that be? 2.5 months. That felt like 2.5 months. Of course, it was just bad. This felt more like 2 days. So I'm sitting here and I'm still I know I'm just rambling on and on about this, but I just can't believe how fast it went. So, that's going on. Let's see what everybody's saying here. Marlene says, Domino's thin crust. Very nice. My dad is a big thin crust guy. Cheesy bread, medium pizza. Good for you, Marlene. Very happy for you. Taco Tuesday here, except it's Wednesday. Everybody in the green. There's Kathy with her green badge. Thank you. Once again, anybody, you're looking at the chat and wondering what all these colors are. These are people who have signed up for the Unfound membership right here on YouTube. If you're wondering how to do that, the join button is kind of like right here. Hit it, check it out. It's only 10 cents a day. You can't go wrong. Twinkle says, truly, the older we get, the faster time goes by. That may be it, Twinkle. I just think it was the totality of the circumstances of being there. I think what it was. It was very weird, and, I'll get into some, other things, here in a bit, but Joyce DeLam better. My sweetheart passed away January 5th. Yeah, Joyce, we're very sad. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, glad that you and Dad made some good memories. Okay. Thanks, Twinkle. Okay, Joyce. Yeah. So sorry. Yes. So yeah, please hit the thumbs up button. So there's that. We'll see how March goes into April. I doubt this month will go as fast as last month did. Just one of those things. And I think it felt fair. It felt very quick for my dad as well. I think it did. So I'm back here. Not sure when I will be back to Pennsylvania. Can't say. Don't want to make any predictions. The truth is, Dad can take care of himself. He has a lot of friends. And, if he needs to go some places, and once again, I'm hoping that he gets his license back anyway. He manages his money. He manages his, medication and everything else. And, he's fine. If he could drive, it'd be perfect. And that's the way he feels. That's the way I feel. But it does seem that he did get screwed over, and he's going to take those steps to get that back. Moving on. I don't think, I don't do politics here. We don't do religion here either. But I can't do the live show without talking about what's going on in Ukraine. I'm not going to get all the deep into this or anything, but You know, I think many of us are around that age. We remember um, this kind of stuff back in the day. We remember the Soviet Union. Maybe if we're old enough, we remember, when they went into Afghanistan and what happened there. We remember doing, nuclear warfare drills in school, which of course are useless. If one of those hits close to you, you just, um, you have no shot, no chance anyway. But it does kind of remind me of being a teenager and being in like junior high school, and we're talking about history and geography. And I can remember when the Soviet Union shot down that jet, what was it? Korean Airlines flight 007, coincidentally, James Bond number 007. And all of that stuff just comes back. And you watch this, and many, people are calling this, given what's going on. And this is going to be this is probably going to be the most covered war to this point in history, of course, because of social media, because of cameras on our phones and everything. We forget, even though it doesn't seem that long ago, that when the United States went into Iraq, for example, that was before smartphones existed. If you can believe it. At the time, of course, cell phones. I got my first cell phone right around that time, early 2003. And, there might have been Blackberries. Of course, there were still the Nokia phones that were very popular. Nokia doesn't even make phones anymore. So that was probably the last thing we can talk about. I'm not comparing to what the United States did back then to what Russia's doing now. But we just have to remember those things didn't even exist, like not even 20 years ago. But here we are. And with the internet, with satellite images, with satellite link ups that Elon Musk is providing, and of course, people leaving that country, and, professional athletes who are Ukrainian having, family, and they're sending them emails and everything else. It is easily the most covered battle war in the history of mankind already. And it's just, you just get a feeling of dread. That's the word that comes to mind. Dread. And it's hard to, it's hard to be normal. Humanity has been going through a lot the last 2 years, to say the least. This has been some really, really weird times. I mean, there's always that saying, may you live in interesting times. I didn't want them to be this interesting. I like an interesting story as much as the next person, an interesting time of history. I never wanted it to be this interesting. Nobody does. Nobody with a sane mind does. And, just when you think we're getting out of this COVID stuff, at least here in the United States, so of course, Florida, I got to admit, since about the summer of 2020, it's been pretty, the people at Publix the employees at Publix were wearing masks for a long time and things, but really for the average person, it's been nothing here in Florida. I know other states have been different, but just when you think that overall we're going to be getting back to normal, of course, we have other issues going on in the United States with inflation and everything. This pops up, and and you feel like you're going right back into it, and it's just a feeling of dread. You just don't know what's going to happen next. Maybe this is, I'm 51. This is well before my time. Was this what the Cuban Missile Crisis felt like? No. It's just, and the thing is that this isn't a movie. There's no guarantee that the underdog's going to win. There's certainly no belief that the favorite will be gracious if they win. Of course not. It's just I'm not here to bring everybody down, but this is can't ignore it. I mean, if I were to do this live show for 2 hours and this never came up, it would be like the elephant in the room. Where that saying comes from is you're sitting there, two people are sitting in a room, there's a huge elephant and they're talking about everything but this huge elephant that's right in front of him. It's like not talking about it is the exact acknowledgement that they both see the elephant. This would have been, but being that I would avoid it would show that it's absolutely on my mind. And well, since it's on my mind, I'm going to, talk about it. I'm not going to get crazy. I'm not getting into politics or anything like that. I just know that I've felt a feeling of dread since last Thursday, going on with everything else that's going on in my life right now. It's a feeling of dread. How it's going to get resolved, I have no idea. This whole thing is hurting everybody's finances. If you have a 401k, don't look at it. If you have any investments, don't look at them. If you have a car that, doesn't get very good gas mileage, good luck with that. It's just dread. And that's how quickly it can happen. I guess it's how quickly it can happen. So I've been feeling a little, dread, even though there's so many good things going on with the program that I'm going to be talking about. There is this overarching thing of what's going to happen next. So there you go. Delane says, my dad lost his license for a short time period due to health issues, but he was able to get them back. Delane, you do not have to publicize your father's health issues here, but if you wanted to send me a message, I would certainly like to find out, how he ended up getting it back. Maybe you've already told me. If you've already told me, I'm sorry, I forget. But I'd certainly like to hear a little bit about that, Delane, but you don't have to put it in the chat. Coffee says, makes me wonder what is going to happen to Crimea. Well, Crimea has been under Russian control since 2014, I think. I grew up, Charlotte says, I grew up being scared of death, being bombed by Russia. I'm probably telling my age, but it was so awful growing up. Yeah, I've been there. Yep. I remember Vietnam, Twinkle says. Yeah, I was in high school. I was born during the Vietnam War, Twinkle, and I know how many Americans died there and everything. I think in some ways, feeling wise, this feels worse than that. Just because. Yeah. No, that's the correct word. My word, dread, TD. That's what I feel. Dread. Finally started being able to get restful sleep, and now all that has gone down the tubes again. Yeah, right. Julie G says, hooray for boring. We did grow up with that existential dread. It's all coming back now. Yeah. Thank you, Marlene. Cuban Missile Crisis was scary, stressful times. Yes, it was, Twink. Other than that, how is your day going? Richard says, just doing work, Richard, and I'm going to get into that, but it's just this overhanging of dread. Charlie, hello, Cherie. I was going to check my 401 today, but decided not to ruin my day. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah. Yeah, Delane, yeah, if you could send me that, maybe I could pass that along to my dad. It might, give him hope. Yeah, all messed up. Yeah. Ed, you and I grew up with friends that lost their fathers during Vietnam. I did, I have to say that I was, being born around that time of 1970, you didn't have too many parents that were in Vietnam because they were all home having kids. My dad was in the military, but he was born in 1936, but he went and served in Korea. He got drafted, but it was well after the war was over. He was in Korea from 58 or 59 to 60. 2 years he was in the army. And, so he never dodged any bullets or anything like that, but he did see the DMZ between South Korea and North Korea. So that's kind of I'm of course a Gen Xer. I'm right smack in the middle. It's from 62 to 78 are considered Gen Xers. I'm 70. I'm right in the middle. And, a lot of us have parents, so I guess fathers who, never, they might have been in the military, but they never actually dodged any bullets or drove any tanks or flew any airplanes or, anything like that. So, just kind of maybe my generation. Although my dad has friends who he taught with that might have been in Vietnam, but they're like 10 years younger than he is or 8 years younger. It's just totally different kind of situation. Like, my dad was, of course, way too young for the World War World War II, and Korea, but then he was too old for Vietnam. It was just when he was born. Yeah. Anyone remember Peace Child from all the nuclear war threat era? You mean the girl with like the flower, TD? Is that what we're talking about here? Stitching, you joined. Good to see you in the membership. Stitching, good for you. Thank you. What Stitching has done, she is now a member, and now she's going to be all green in here. Stitching, I hope you like the color green. Marlene remembers the Korean airliner. My dad was in World War II. Many bombing missions are related to Italy. Thank you for his service, Kathy. Yeah, thank you for the right word to describe what's going on. Dread. D-R-E-A-D, not like Judge Dredd, D-R-E-D-D. This is dread, D-R-E-A-D, the foreboding. It's just, yeah. So that's why when I posted the link to tonight's show, how I'm usually funny with the camel and everything. I just said, the camel wants peace. Let's just, what am I supposed to say? All right. So I'm feeling a little more stressed than usual. I'm feeling a little more dread than usual. I'm thinking about my dad. I'm thinking about the state of the world. We're all looking at our finances. It's like, a lot of, non-positive things going on. All right. So that's enough of that. What else is going to happen? We just don't know. Julie, TD, Peace Child is a play I'm not familiar with. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Stitching. You are now all green. Congratulations. All right. Let's move on to the body of the program, being that I've been on a downer for the last half hour. Of course, we'll start where we usually do, and that was with the poll that was posted in the discussion group this past Saturday. I kept it, I guess, kind of easy. And I said, did the bumpers guy cause the disappearance of Sue Swedell? Majority of you in the discussion group decided yes. He's the one that did it. Although I will say that the no's had a nice showing as well. It was not a runaway. I think it was like maybe 65% to 35%, something like that. So, but the bumpers guy, I guess he's a popular choice. And the think tank, a little more mixed. Not totally different, but surely not the same as the discussion group. Obviously, sometimes, as I've talked about many times, the discussion group's way over here and the think tank's way over here regarding theories. A little closer probably than usual. It was a little more mixed in the think tank. And once again, if you'd like to join the think tank, and we actually had a couple of people sign up over the past week. It is patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. Go there. Just follow the directions. You'll see what level you want to sign up for. But to be in the think tank, you have to get up to the $12 a month level to take part in the very secret discussions that we have in the think tank every Sunday. And of course, you get some other things by signing up as well. All right. You can sign up for just $2 a month and just read the blogs I write every week. Now, for me, speaking of blogs that I write at Patreon that are private, I can't. my problem with thinking that the bumpers guy did it is that, and last night, you should know, I spoke to a woman who has been following Sue's disappearance for a long time. She's actually a criminal justice professor in Minnesota. So, of course, I talked to her about going up there to speak to her students. But she had been following Sue's disappearance for a very, very long time. And it was interesting in talking to her. And the point that I made with her that keeps coming to mind that I wrote in the blog is that I'm unclear. It seems to me that the bumpers guy was into Sue and Sue was into the bumpers guy. So why would he go through all those hoops to damage her car so that he could pull up and save her? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think you got from Christine that Sue was certainly interested in this guy and he was interested in her. So what am I supposed to think here? It's just a little confusing. So I did not pick the bumpers guy. In fact, I did not really pick any guy at all, but I can't get away from the idea that, could this have been something where, it's like Dale Kerstetter? He got talked into some sort of ploy or something, and then he got double crossed. Could this be what happened to Sue? I'm very open to that still. That she, some guy, talked her, who's not the bumpers guy, some other guy talked her into, let's do this and it'll be fun and we'll get some time alone and your car will get fixed and don't worry about it. And we'll go off and we'll do this and we'll do that. And I'll bring you back. And I can't rule that out. What continues to bother me is her going into that gas station and not using the phone before the guy pulled up. I just can't look past that. So I talked to this professor, criminal justice professor, who actually also is very good friends with Caroline Lowe from, of course, Jody Husentrud's website, who's been on the guest twice, or who's been a guest twice. She's friends with Caroline Lowe. And so we had some good conversations about that as well. It was very interesting talking to somebody from the outside who has been following the disappearance for a while and getting her insight. And I'm glad she reached out to me and knows Caroline. As I have said many times, the missing persons community, very small. Very, everybody seems to know each other. So that was what I decided. I can't say that it's the bumpers guy, but I continue to think that could Sue have actually taken part in this, a willing participant, and she had the tables turned on her or something. What's going? Yep. Thank you. The Korean airliner. Yeah. Thank you, Stitching. Thank you for the support. Richard said, I grew up losing some of my high school buddies. I was stationed in the U.S. and didn't have to go over there. I'm sorry to hear that, Richard. I'm sorry. Jeez, it's very sad. It's weird for my dad. He was going to get drafted anyway. And when he found out that he was going to get drafted, he decided to sign up. Because if you decided to get drafted and went in that way, you didn't have any control over where you were going to go. Whereas if you enlisted, you made a choice to go into the military, you would then have some choices of where you would eventually get stationed. And he had a choice between Germany and South Korea, and he picked South Korea. And from what I can tell, all the pictures that he had, I think he played more football than did anything else over there. I think. So there you go. Delane says, I'm not liking my latter 50s except for my grandkids. I'm sorry to hear that, Delane. Joyce, thank you for joining in to the membership. You're going to see my face every day now, Joyce, if you can stand it. But thank you for signing up. Deeply appreciated. We've got some new members tonight. Excellent. Twinkle says the think tank is fun and thought-provoking, and you can make some good friends there. That is true, Twinkle. Once again, take it from Twinkle and many other people in here. Patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. TD is asking, what's school in Minnesota? TD, really don't want to get into that, who this person is. I'll just say that she's a criminal justice professor. I'm not sure that she, wants to be known that, anything like that. I'll just keep it on the download for now, TD. But she was a former police officer, kind of like Dr. Telesco. Former police officer who did her time, did put in her years, and then became a professor. And congratulations to her. Screaming says, very interesting show in Susan Sodell. I live only about 10 minutes from Lake Elmo. My in-laws are actually building a new house there. Thank you, Screaming. Stitching with the thumbs up super chat. I haven't even mentioned that. If you'd like to contribute to the program as you're watching tonight, you can only do that when you're watching live. You can hit the thumbs up, or you can hit the little button down there at the bottom, gray square with a $sign in the middle, and contribute monetarily like Stitching just did. Thank you, Stitching. Charlotte says, I think she knew the guy. Sue, I think it's a possibility. Yeah. Julie G says, is there any movement on the case? It seems ice cold. It's pretty cold, Julie. Yeah. Yeah. Twinkle. Okay. Twinkle talking about age. Screaming. Thank you very much. Screaming. Once again, super chat contribution. Thank you, Screaming. You're very generous. Richard says, Jody's case is chilling to me. I hope they find her. Yeah, I don't know what, I don't know what to tell you, Richard. It's, a lot of suspects, but I'm convinced they, at least publicly, we've still not heard the right name of the person who did that to Jody. I'm pretty convinced of that. All right, moving on. While I was in, I've been talking about this, foreshadowing it, alluding to it, not telling what, but everybody I think knows now, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit now. And that is, Unfound is moving to Spotify / Megaphone. I got an email right after I got to Pennsylvania that seemed interesting to me. I have no bad words to say about Podomatic, but I've been thinking about a change. My contract with Podomatic was going to be up this summer, and I was thinking about switching or doing something different anyway. And Podomatic and I go way back, well before Unfound. So just so you know. But being that this Spotify reached out to me, I thought, well, let's give it a shot. Let's do it. I talked it over with Cherie. I talked it over with my assistant, Eric. And, we'll see what happens. It's just for a year, and I hope things work out. But what I'm doing now, the hard part of this is going through all the old episodes and putting ad markers in them. So I have to listen to parts of the episode, see where I want to put the ad marker in, and that takes some time. And so, I've probably put 7 hours into it, at least so far. And I started at the beginning. I started with Suzanne Lyles, and I'm just working my way forward. I'm just getting to 2018 now. So I'm up to like Aaron Barnard, Jeremy Burt, which were the first two episodes of 2018. So I've put like 7 hours in, and I've only done, 4 months of 2016 and all of 2017. So it's going to take a while. And here we are in 2022. So, I'm working as fast as I can, but this is one of the reasons that there won't be an episode this Friday, because I'm working on this very, very quickly. It just has to take my time. Once I do it, I never have to do it again, because once I start uploading new episode, it's just working on that one. And, I don't have to do anything to all the old ones. So, and in addition, I felt a little pressed for time, because uploading the episode, it might be a little different. How do you set up the art and all these things? And I wanted to give myself ample time to plan for any mistakes, any problems, and everything else. So I thought, just going to take off this Friday. Now, you should know you're going to be more than rewarded with that next Friday, because next Friday is going to be like 2 episodes combined. I've already done the interview for it. It's one of these pops up once in a while, 3-hour interview. And so in addition to that, I have my own personal story regarding this, some really freaky coincidence that I'll get to tell you all about. You'll hear it next Friday, so a week and a half from now. So being that there won't be an episode this Friday, we're going to surely make up for it next Friday, because it'll be like 2 episodes combined. So that's the other reason. I hate missing a Friday. I hate missing Fridays. I've only ever missed was when my mother died, but extenuating circumstances. So I'm working on Spotify Megaphone. I'm getting familiar with the workflow and all of that, putting ads in, learning all that stuff. Their help center is right there. It's like live. If I have any problems, they're right there, which I really like. So that's happening. And I don't think that you should notice any changes, except for if you're using the Podomatic app, the episodes just won't be there anymore. So there's that. You'll just have to adapt. And I'm a big fan of Podomatic. I was a big fan of their app, but just some things. I was getting a little frustrated with when I would upload the Podomatic, and then they would send the file to iTunes and Spotify, coincidentally, and other places. Over the last few months, too many times where I would upload the file, and then it would only, be half of it at iTunes, half of it at Spotify. It would happen like every other week. And I was wondering what's going on. I have no idea who was to blame. Podomatic blamed it on them. They blamed it on Podomatic. I spoke to both sides. Who knows? The other thing that concerned me was that there are no other true crime podcasts on Podomatic. And that was always a weird thing to me. Although you should know, this is a weird, quirky fact. The podcast Up and Vanished, Payne Lindsay, he actually started on Podomatic. I can remember when he was on there way back in 2016. His program was on there, but he was only on there for like, I don't know, 4 episodes or something like that. Then he was gone, which, you can take that for what it's worth. And the other thing, to be honest, is that even though I talked about all those downloads that we had last year, there was a part of me that wanted some confirmation on that. And the only way you can get confirmation on that is to go to another platform, where a different place is keeping statistics, and see if they match up. So it was all these things kind of combined, these things that are running through my head. And then all it took was to get an email from them. And I had 2 good conversations with her. And like I said, I talked to Cherie, I talked to Eric, and I was like, why not try it out? The fact is, on Podomatic, the episodes aren't making any money at all, 0. And so this is at least an opportunity to monetize the program, and we'll see how much it's going to be. Just have to see. So that is happening. That's why we're not having an episode this Friday. But like I said, I think next Friday's episode will more than make up for that. Moving on, Dr. Telesco, I'm hoping you watched that last Thursday. It was good to get together with her. I like her so much. And if I could say this, when she found out back in late January that I was going up to hang out with my dad for a while, and she actually called me, although I was on the phone with I think I might have even been doing an interview when she called, but she left me, a message, she texted me, so I think that we've become more than just, just colleagues. I think it's a little bit more than that, and that's fantastic. It's just fantastic. She's such a great person. I see why, she gets so much respect down there. You can tell by the students who have been her assistants, the kind of person she is. So it was so good. So yeah, we talked about Evelyn Hartley last Thursday, and I think it was good to talk about a really, really, really old disappearance. And like I said, we picked it out because it's very similar to Janelle Matthews, and I thought it would be good to kind of compare and contrast those, given that back in, what was it, October or November, we did talk about Janelle's murder. So let's see what everybody is saying here. Delane says, I hope it gets more fun this year. Past year sucked. I can't stay well. Yeah. Screaming says, very interesting. Really looking forward to listening to next Friday's episode. It's a good one. I will tell you this. The interview is with an investigator who actually worked on the disappearance. And this is a guy that I've known since like 2017. He's not been on the program before. I don't know if I've ever even mentioned him publicly, but we did this interview, this past weekend. And like I said, it went 3 hours. A lot to talk about, and then on top of that, like I said, the summation of this episode is going to be long as well, because I have a weird, just like with Stephen Kocher, where I had a weird intersection with that disappearance being that happened right down the road from where I lived in Las Vegas at the time. And I was really involved in that in 2009. This is kind of like that. This disappearance is kind of like that. So I'll have a lot to talk about regarding that. So moving on. Speaking of Dr. Telesco and speaking engagements, 2 weeks from yesterday, I will be going to Florida International down there in Miami to speak to some classes. And I'm looking forward to that. The issue, one of the big issues has been that being up with my dad, and this is once again when I talk about the inefficiency of things, this is one thing I've really not been able to really work on. And even though I did speak to some professors while I was there, one over from Lakeland area, Florida, who said it'd probably be better for next semester, September, October, November. So I did speak to a couple professors. So the emails certainly work, but one of the issues was that I didn't know how long I was going to be up there. I didn't know how things were going to go up there. I didn't want to really make any commitments to anything too soon. But yes, less than 2 weeks, I'll be appearing down there. And so between now and then, I'm going to have to work on my shtick. I've not, of course, had any speaking engagements since Dr. Telesco at Nova Southeastern way back at the beginning of November. So it's been a while. Going to have to work on it again. I'm hoping that, more of these can happen closer together. And you should know, after the Dr. Telesco show last Thursday, we actually threw around the idea, because we're going to do a show at the end of March, going to do one at the end of April. And I was actually, thinking about, could I go down there and speak to another class that she has there, but then also do the show with her while I'm down there. So we're going to throw around that idea. We got some time to think about that. So that's coming up. I only got one question for tonight. At least I think I did. Let's make sure that nobody has, let's see if anybody has attempted to send me a question. Sometimes what happens, if you don't know, is I'll start the show and then somebody will post a question after the show is started. And so that makes things, a little difficult. So let me just make sure. Nope, that was it. Okay, just one question, and it comes from Charlotte. Charlotte, You've been asking a lot of questions. Charlotte always emails me with her question, which I enjoy. Thank you for that, Charlotte. Charlotte asks, I've kind of answered this question before, but this question is a little bit different. I wonder if you took any type of classes to learn how to investigate disappearances, or if you studied cases, or how you prepared yourself to do the Unfound podcast. I will tell you, Charlotte, no, of course, there are no classes. So I did not take any classes regarding disappearances. There are none. I would certainly like to put together a program that could be taught at schools about this. Certainly, Charlotte. And, I'd love to do that. And that's one of the things I need to work on, along with everything else. But really, it's just been on the job training, Charlotte. And I think it shows, being that I've been listening to some of these old episodes, putting ad markers in them and everything. Certainly, the show, the program, the episodes have changed since the beginning. How I interview people has changed. Even my voice has changed. My tone has changed. But this was all on the job training, Charlotte. There are no classes. There are no programs. There's nobody teaching anything like this, but I would certainly love the opportunity to do that. But what I'll have to do is I have to put together a program, and I'll have to probably research that. How do you put together a curriculum that involves disappearances and, teaching criminal justice majors about them? Of course, I'm doing these speaking engagements, but really they're only one class, and it's just the most general of terms, general coverage, for an hour, 15 minutes, hour and a half. But what if you were to come up with a curriculum that would maybe be an elective for criminal justice majors at schools that have that kind of school, and it would be a semester-long thing. Wouldn't be some class that would be 5 days a week, but maybe 2 days a week. That sounds interesting to me. So it's a good question, Charlotte, but I think if anybody's going to come up with any way, classes to teach people about disappearances or anything, I think it's going to have to be me, because I don't think anybody else is motivated that way. Screaming says, great show with Dr. Teleska. Thanks again for covering Evelyn's case. You did a great job. Thanks. Thank you for posting the link there, Cherie. I'm guessing that is to my show with Dr. Teleska. Thank you. Yeah, you got to listen to that, Delane. And maybe even a membership bonus talk besides the school talks. Yes? Wow, Delane, you are demanding. But that's a really cool idea. I'm gonna be open to that. Maybe Sheree and I will talk about that. In fact, Sheree's even saying that's a great idea. Sheree, put that on your list of things to do. We'll have to talk about that. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. Moving on. Speaking of membership, I'm going to talk about it again. You're seeing many of you in the chat, most of your names are in white. But then you see these people whose names are in green. They have decided to join the Unfound membership right here on YouTube. And it's just something that, of course, just started about 10 days ago. I think what's funny, sure, about this is, Cherie gave me this idea at least a couple months ago. So much going on, doing this, doing that. And of all times, when did I decide to start it? When I was in Pennsylvania and I was even busier, and doing other things more than I usually am. It's just weird how things work out sometimes. So I started that not even 2 weeks ago. And what do you get with that? Well, I'm going to tell you. And once again, the join button is right there. You're seeing it right here beside the subscribe button, somewhere analytics for the video or something like that. There's a join button right here. Now, if you have a phone, especially if it's an iPhone, you're not going to see that button. I don't know what to tell you, but that button is not there. It's on Android phones. If I look at, where is my phone? I don't think I brought it in here. But on my phone, if you open the YouTube app on an Android phone, it's there. Mac phones, iPhones, it's not there. I don't know what to tell you. So if you want to join, you're going to have to go to a computer to join. You'll have to be in your account and go to that computer and hit the join button. So what do you get for 10 cents a day? 10 cents, which is even less than it usually is given inflation right now. You're going to get a daily update from me. So since this has started, I think I started that last Monday, so like a week and a half ago, I will get on here and I will do a private video that's only can be seen by members. And I'll just tell all of you what is going on with Unfound that day. I may talk a little bit about what's going on in my personal stuff, personal life, but mainly it is just talking about Unfound. For example, for today, I did the update video. I did a little later because I needed to get prettied up. Because, of course, the live show's tonight, and I wanted to shave and make sure my hair looked muy fantastico. And so I do an update. So for today, for example, if you are a member, this is what you would have heard. You would have heard me talk about how this morning I had a phone call with the sister of a woman who went missing in Ohio a few years ago. And I'm just about for sure that she'll be on the program eventually. Was working on the Spotify stuff that I just talked about here. Talked about a little about the live show. Talked a little bit about working on a couple, an outline. That's what people heard today. And it went, most of these videos have been 3 to 4 minutes long. And I got the idea because I follow on Twitter a sports host in Pittsburgh, morning talk show host at 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, and he does that. So he's getting there very, very early in the morning to start at like 6 a.m. for the 6 to 10 shift of this morning show. And what he'll do is he'll do a quick video on Twitter every day. And maybe that's something I should think about. But that's where I got the idea from. What if I were to do an update, video every day? And also on top of everything else, I know how popular the update episodes are that we do every 4 months. So you get to see behind the curtain. You get to see it. You get to hear about it, see it as it happens. What's going on with Unfound today? You're going to hear about it. And you'll hear me explain it. So there you go. The other thing is the new Unfound Now has already come out. And guess what? Only members have seen it so far. Now, all of you will eventually get to see it. But members, it was posted, on Sunday? And they had direct access to it. For the rest of you, you're going to have to wait a little bit. So there's that. Also, members get a sneak peek at the interview for that week. So, for example, next Friday when that episode comes out, maybe the day before, maybe 2 days before, I will select a clip from that interview, put pictures to it, and post it for the members. And they'll get to hear maybe 5, 6. Well, this interview is so long. This clip may be 10 or 15 minutes. So they'll get a little flavor of what the interview is going to be like. And then also, you get a little sneak peek at the blog that I write at Patreon. I write the blog, but I also audio record it. And actually, I use the audio recording to edit it. So I kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I do that for the newsletter. By the way, the newsletter came out today. I'll get to that in a moment. But so what I do with that is I take like a 5-minute clip of the blog that I've read at Patreon, put pictures to it, post it. And that will be done, maybe the day after it has been posted. The blog has been posted. So I think there's some pretty good value here. But, Cherie and I, being that Cherie came up with this idea, and I appreciate that, Cherie, we'll continue to throw around some ideas to make sure that people are getting their money's worth, and, we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping we get quite a few people in there. And once again, for 10 cents a month, I don't think you can go wrong. But let's see what everybody is saying here. Charlotte says, I got to listen to the Telesco episode. Of course you do, Charlotte. You should have been watching live, Charlotte. I'm kidding. And maybe even just a membership bonus talk. Yeah, yes, right. That would be great. Yeah, great idea. In spite of all, your brain is functioning well. Richard, how about a meeting in Clearwater once a year for members? Could do that. I don't know how many members are here in the Clearwater area. There's certainly some guests who live in this area. And, coincidentally, I'm going to be meeting a listener, K Dog, on Friday, but she's not from around here. So, it just would only be convenient for people in the Clearwater area. It's just, maybe we could do something with a private live show or something, Richard. I'll have to think about that. Twinkle's getting out of here. Okay, Twinkle, I'll catch you later. Maybe, I think we'll still do the think tank on Sunday night. I'll come up with something. Don't worry. So Twinkle, I hope to see you on Sunday. Joyce, you are generous. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat contribution. Thank you. Charlotte says, I saw where they are working on the Bradley Brooks case again. Charlotte, that's news to me. I've not heard anything, didn't see anything. His sister has not contacted me, not that she has to. But Charlotte, if you have any more news than that, please let us all know, or post a link there, or maybe post something in the discussion group so we can all see it. So speaking of, so that's the membership right there. Join it right there. Moving on. Speaking of Unfound now, I don't mind telling you all about the disappearance that the Unfound will cover for all of you who are not yet members. But it's the disappearance of Steven Salazar in Harrisburg back in December. His disappearance kind of covers a lot of different topics that were popular during 2021, coincidentally. So I took the opportunity to discuss his disappearance. So you'll get to hear that when I make it available to everyone. And I'm guessing many of the members have already watched the video. Lot to talk about regarding his disappearance, even though there aren't a ton of facts. So yeah, I live about 90 minutes from you. Oh, Richard. Okay. Well, I'll try to keep my mind on that, Richard. I saw it online, but it might have been from a few years ago. Yeah, you always got to check that, Charlotte. You always, it looks like a news story, but it might have been an old story. The Real says Clearwater is quite a commute for me. You don't say, The Real. Yeah, I suspect so. Everybody doesn't know The Real lives in Australia. Debbie is finally getting in. She's a member. She's all green there. Well, Debbie, good to see you. Thank you for becoming a member of the private group there. And we still got about an hour to go. So, sit back and relax. Next, I want to bring up, finally got the newsletter finished. Once again, one of those things that had to make time for it and couldn't make time for it when I wanted to make time for it, but it got done. It was emailed out to all of you. It should be in your inbox right now. If you are not yet on the email list, please email me at unfoundpodcast@gmail.com and I will get you on the list. This is another way. I mean, between this, besides this live show, for members, the daily updates, the newsletter is another way for you to get behind the scenes, look behind the scenes of what is going on at this podcast. And this month's newsletter, a little over 3,000 words. And a week from now, in audio form, it will be posted to YouTube and to the website, theunfoundpodcast.com. But people who are actually on the email list get it first. So be looking for that. Debbie says, love you, Ed. Oh, Debbie, I'm blushing. Thanks. Yeah, Debbie, I hope you saw that I responded to your comment on YouTube about, do I ever sleep? Actually, for most of the time, I sleep pretty well. I got to admit, recently, I've not been sleeping too well. So, yeah. And I love the emojis, Debbie. Nicely done. Love the magnifying glass from the logo, and then of course the heavy metal sign. The Zavlor. I'll see Dream Theater in a few days. Where are you going to see them? The Zavlor. I have to admit, I'm not the biggest Dream Theater fan. It's and it's weird because a lot of people make the comparison, I think, between Dream Theater and like Queensryche, because Queensryche did Operation Mindcrime. And for all of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you're just going to have to, maybe relax for a few moments. There's a lot of people make the comparison between Dream Theater and Queensryche back at that time when they did the concept album Operation Mindcrime. And of course, Dream Theater's really into that as well. I don't know. I tried to listen to him. I worked on a TV production. I was working on a stunt show way back in 2000, and I worked with a guy who was a crazy Dream Theater fan. And, I listened to some of the stuff with him, and I don't know. Maybe I need to give him another shot now. Maybe I need to be a little more open-minded to that now. But I hope it's a great show, of course. But I think a lot of people would think, well, Ed would surely be into Dream Theater. And just, I don't know. I don't know if there are any other bands like that, Ed, you would really be into them. It makes all the sense in the world. And then I'm not. I would have to think about that. But, so I hope it's a great show. Obviously very talented. They've been around for a long time. But I hope you have a great time. The Zavlor. Julie G, I'm with the heavy metal illiterate. That's okay, Julie. I won't hold it against you. Delane, they moved our Matchbox 20 concert again to 2023. What is going on, Delane? Is it because of COVID, I'm guessing? See, once again, you start getting into Matchbox 20. I know some of their songs and everything, but not, not a big fan. So once again, if you are on the newsletter list, you should have gotten the newsletter. If you didn't get it, but you're on the list, check your spam folder. Sometimes when messages come from MailChimp, it gets labeled as spam. And the reason I use MailChimp is because the email list, the contact list is so long, Google rejects it. So I have to use MailChimp to make that happen. So you might want to check that out. Wow, that is crazy, Lane. It was supposed to be 2020. Wow. And Cherie is going to see Matchbox 20 in July. Well, surely I hope they don't delay it for you too, Cherie. So let's move on to this. This is kind of breaking news today. I got this from Caprice, who was the guest for the disappearance of Kamisha Hollis. Maybe some of you saw it. I think I might have even posted something in the group today on Facebook that her boyfriend, Marvin Young, just maybe if some of you forget the circumstances, is that Kamisha Hollis was in this relationship with this guy, Marvin Young. They had some children together. He was very controlling, paranoid. Maybe this will ring a bell. That she would go to work and he would request that she have her phone on and streaming so he could look at her all the time. Do you remember that? Maybe that rings a bell. And she went missing. And then he was caught parking her car and walking away from it. And this is a disappearance we covered, I think, way back in 2019. But he has taken a plea in Nebraska for manslaughter. Of course, the bad part, the really bad part, he has not given up where Kamisha is. And, once again, we have a situation originally we talked about Angie Yarnell. That's a disappearance we covered, and we know that her husband said he did something. He went to jail for a while, and now he's out a free man, and she's still missing. We have the situation much more recently with Teresa Butler, where this guy said that, yeah, she overdosed and we covered it up and then I chopped her up. And he got away with that, telling that story, and he's going to jail, but still Teresa has not been found. And so we now have another one of these where we have a guy, Marvin Young, who surely killed Kamisha Hollis. I don't know if it was planned. I don't know if it was by accident, somewhere in between, but he surely did it. And so he's taking a plea for manslaughter, does not have to reveal where Kamisha is. He's being sentenced to 30 years, but the way Caprice has explained it to me, got sirens going on out there. Huh. That's very rare down here. But the way she has explained it to me, he's gotten 30 years. But given the way Nebraska sentences people, that it'll probably be knocked down to 15 years. And Marvin has already spent 4 years in jail for this. He didn't have bail or whatever it was. So really, he'll be out in 10 years, is what Caprice is saying. So 2032. And Kamisha maybe will still be missing. I don't know what can be done about this. It's just not right. I don't know what can be done because, with Angie Yarnell, she disappeared, coincidentally in Missouri. And also Teresa Butler disappeared in Missouri. But now we have Nebraska doing the same thing. And I'm sure if we really wanted to get into the details of some of these disappearances, you should probably find in all 50 states that this has happened at least once, where a woman goes missing or a guy goes missing and somebody cops a plea, does not have to reveal where the missing person is, and goes to jail, and that's that. Being that I know that it happens in so many different states, I don't know how you change this. If this was some federal thing, or there were just a couple states where this was happening, then you could start thinking about measures to change people's opinions. But this seems to be common. And, you wonder what's going through the prosecutor's head. Would the prosecutor be making this decision if it was one of his loved ones that was missing? Would he or she make that deal? You'd think not. And that's what also drives us all nuts. That if these people who are making the decisions, it was happening to them, I'm not sure that they would want this decision to be made. Now, of course, the issue is that you can't hold Marvin Young forever. So if you're not going to charge him with anything, then he's going to be let out. And maybe it might happen again. I'm sure that goes through a district attorney's mind. But are we really saying that given everything we know about Kamisha Hollis's disappearance, that a jury would not convict him of murder? No matter who the defense attorney is, are we really saying this? Because, let's just think about an example that we all know. Janelle Matthews being surely murdered and Steve Pankey being on trial. Here's what I think I know. That there is surely more evidence that Marvin Young killed Kamisha Hollis, and it was murder, not manslaughter, but murder. He surely murdered her. There's surely not more evidence that he murdered her than there is that Steve Pankey murdered Janelle Matthews. I'm not saying Steve didn't do it, but surely with Kamisha Hollis's disappearance, there's way more information, way more facts. Now, granted, but of course, Janelle was found. Kamisha hasn't been. But should a body being found or not being found make that much of a difference? To me, it shouldn't. I realize there's going to be certainly disappearances where there is plausible denial by the suspect. And I'm sure we've covered some of those. We've covered many disappearances where I think that we know the suspect, but you get into a courtroom and maybe it's not so sure. We all understand that. Kamisha Hollis's disappearance is not one of those. Not one of those. And Caprice, as you can imagine, she's out of her mind. We had a few back and forth, conversation back and forth through Messenger today. I did not see it. She was the one that alerted me to what was going on. It just sucks. I just can't imagine it. I just can't. I cannot imagine it. Having to live with this. Caprice is going to see what she can do about it, and she's a very determined woman. So I have all the faith in her that she's going to do as much as she can. I don't know what she can do. I don't know all the hoops you have to jump through to do that, but I'm sure she's going to give it her best shot. But these are the kind of things that, you lose confidence in the justice system, in the judicial system, and making sure people pay for what they've done. I realize the alternative is maybe taking a risk, but I just don't think that there's a risk, not the way I understand this disappearance. That there would be a risk that Marvin Young might get off scot-free. I don't know. But we have too much of this happening. It happens in murder cases too, where murderers not give up where they put a body, but they know there's much more evidence. There's maybe blood everywhere or whatever else, and they never people who are men who are already in jail, they'll be say, we'll give you a couple years off if you tell us. They just don't. Some do. It's not impossible, but it is rare. So that is an update for Kamisha Hollis's disappearance. Of course, that will then be included coming up in the next update episode in April. But it's very sad. This is one of those situations where, you'd hope that Tad Tobias could get involved and maybe turn this around. But we haven't, I know maybe once or twice I did updates on Kamisha's case. But there really, to me, hasn't been a lot going on. In fact, Kamisha's was one of those that we were waiting for the trial to happen this year. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So if you're unfamiliar with Kamisha Hollis's disappearance, please go back and find that episode when you can. Kamisha, like I said, I think we covered that disappearance. I think it was in like July of 2019, something like that. So you might want to check that out. Okay. It is frustrating, Charlotte. It surely is. Laura, it's so frustrating. Thank you. Shri says, looks a bit like Barry Morphew has a good chance of walking, so I don't know. Yeah. The only thing I would say about that, Shri, once again, the way I understand Suzanne Morphew's disappearance compared to Kamisha's, I think it's much more obvious that Marvin Young murdered Kamisha than it is that Barry murdered Suzanne. I think. Delane, it has to be that prosecutor isn't sure they can get a conviction and they don't want a loss on their record. That could be it. Tad Tobias talked about that over 5 years ago, I should say. Kind of like Peterson getting a retrial. Yeah. Shri says you have to believe in circumstantial evidence. You do. And, I think that circumstantial evidence has put a lot of people behind bars. They had video of him, with the car and all of that. What could they think? What would be the defense's position on this? I know defense attorneys can get crazy, but what exactly would be the alternate scenario of Marvin killing Kamisha, that Marvin didn't have anything to do with it? It's just hard. It's hard to understand. Yeah, we have to write our state representatives. Yeah, Joyce, you just wonder if, prosecutors' discretion. Some are braver than others, as it is just with people in general. Charlotte says, Delane, it's so aggravating when prosecutors don't want to try cases just because they don't want to risk losing the case. No effort, no win. Delay. Delane, it's kind of sickening the way his daughters are clinging to him. Julie, can't imagine either what it's like. The thing is about these guys, they're never going to talk. They hold on to whatever they know. It's the only power they have. That's right. It's a power thing. Charlotte says, it sure is Delane. I saw that on TV. Delane, yeah. Sheree says, I heard about a case the other day where they told the suspect, if you tell us where the body is, we won't use it in court. And it worked. So they basically had to build the case without that info. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Charlotte, Barry Morphew. Yes, Barry has money. Debbie says, well, to me, circumstantial evidence is evidence. Well, that's true. Sure. Yeah, that's true. Moving on. Maybe this is a little bit more positive than that story. And that is remains that were found in the area where Tyler North went missing. We now know that he was murdered. That's another case that's supposed to be happening this year. A skull was found somewhere around that area where he was last seen, and the DNA has finally been done, and it is Tyler. So that closes that part of the investigation. If some of you, once again, if you do not know about Tyler's disappearance, I'll just give you the brief rundown, is that Tyler was divorced and he was over at his sister's one night and he left. And it turned out that when he was over at his sister's, he was texting with his ex-wife. And I don't think anybody knew this in his family, but even though they were divorced, he and his ex-wife were still getting together once in a while. I'll just leave it at that, being that this is a PG-rated show. He was doing that once in a while. Well, they had arranged to meet that night at a local park, and then Tyler went missing. His sister was the guest way back when. And eventually his ex-wife and her boyfriend, who was a former county deputy in the area, were charged with Tyler's murder. His truck was found nearby this park. It was all burned to a crisp. But somehow they ended up finding some remains, and finally the DNA test is done. I have to admit off the top of my head, I don't remember how his remains were found. I don't remember. Was it luck? Or did they have some sort of cell phone pinging from the ex-wife and her boyfriend? Maybe it was that. They knew the general area to look. I don't know. But we now know that Tyler North is deceased. And this was it does not luring. The example of luring, it's a very, very good example of luring. She lured him there, and they killed him. Now, they're still, I guess, going to spend their day in court, or maybe they'll take a plea too. But yeah, they did it. Very, very sad. And, we get so caught up, I guess, on Unfound with so many men instigating the disappearances of women that we forget turnabout is fair play. And one of these is probably one of the best examples of luring that you're ever going to see. That she was surely the instigator of all of this. Now, why, what is it about this particular disappearance that it's getting solved and these others that are similar to it aren't? I don't know. I don't know, because this is, Tyler North's disappearance is very similar to Jeff Nichols. It's one of a very disappearance we covered very, very early on in Unfound's existence, where his ex-wife lured him to a location with the guarantee of free golf clubs. And then he went missing. And she and their son and her parents all took off and went to Ireland, moved there. And then she tried to sneak back into the United States or something, got caught, spent some time in jail for something different. And then they let her out and she went right back to Ireland. So just it's frustrating. I just don't know why something like this can go in the right direction and so many of these others go in a different direction. I think it's a very, very thin line. And if I'm ever able to tell you more than that, I will, as far as my insight. But at least this is, at least we know that Tyler is deceased. I'm not happy about that, and they have a couple people in custody, and it sounds to me now that they have enough evidence to go forward with the trial. Charlotte says, I have written my state representatives in the past. Joyce says, too many plea deals offered in this country. Yeah. Yep. And the Zavlor says, wow. Yeah. Maybe you're talking about Jeff Nichols. Maybe you don't know that one. Yeah. And now, Delane, you're going to be all green now too, Delane. Thank you for joining in the festivities that will be going on in this membership group. So I appreciate that, Delane. Thank you for becoming a member tonight. Thank you. So moving on. So that was all the Unfound connected information for the show, but I have some other things that I want to talk about. One was suggested by Cherie. She always likes to give me a heads up because, sometimes I'm not as up on some of these things as all of you are. And Cherie thinks it would make a good thing to talk about. So I study up on it. But Susan Powell, I want to talk about Susan Powell. I would admit that her disappearance was not one that really caught my fancy back in the day. I don't know why. Maybe because it was just so clear to me what happened. It was clear that her husband, murdered her and then took her somewhere and disposed of her, which, as we now know, or at least I know, having done Unfound for 5.5 years, is a very common scenario. Lots of men making their wives disappear out there. Surely. It's unclear to me if this was planned. Was it, an accident? Was it domestic violence, as we think a lot of these are? I don't know. Of course, in reading about this, and I'll get to why I'm, if you don't know why I'm talking about this, why I'm bringing it up now, I will, and I'll tell you in a moment. But in going back and reading everything that was going on at the time and everything that's went on after she went missing and what Josh did, we of course know eventually he murdered his sons and killed himself by causing his house to explode, which more than anything is surely an indication that he killed Susan too. But, you hear about, for example, Josh Powell's brother, Michael, who now it is believed might have assisted in Susan's disappearance. We know that the father, Stephen, was not a good guy either. And you start thinking, what was Susan doing in this family? I don't believe, Josh and his side of his family just suddenly got weird all at once one day. The truth is, they're a bunch of bad people. Freaky, bad people. And so, you just wonder what was going on there. And maybe it very well could be, being that they were so freaky and everything, maybe Susan had thought about getting divorced and that was all it took. Totally possible. I will also say the only really tangential, attention that I've given to Susan Powell's disappearance over the years is how, eventually when Stephen Kocher went missing, somebody started some theory out there that they knew each other and that, she took off and then Stephen took off and they got together, or their disappearances are related or something like that. And it's all crazy. I can remember when Stephen went missing that started fairly early on. And, I don't know where people get this stuff. It's just, to me, it's just people coming up with stuff because they need something to talk about. I think it was obvious from day one that Josh killed her. And there was no proof that Stephen and Susan knew each other. And in fact, I think, to me, it sounded, I don't know, a little bigoted or something. I don't know, just because they were both members of the Church of Latter-day Saints or they were both Mormons, that meant they knew each other. It just seems so weird to me. But I never bought into any of that. But you can go onto Web Sleuths, for example, and not that I've checked it recently, but I know going way back to that time, people, throwing around those ideas. I just never took it seriously. But the reason I'm talking about all this is that recently, I don't know if it was by accident or there's some sort of search, but there were bones down in a well in western Utah. Somebody came across them. And they thought, well, maybe this is Susan, because at one point, I guess before Susan went missing, Josh had talked to a coworker or something about putting a person in a mine shaft or something like that. This is one of those things that, would Josh really talk about a mine shaft, then actually put Susan in one? Would he really do that? It does really stretch my imagination that he would talk about it, then do it. I mean, if he had an idea, some plan to kill Susan, why would he be telling some coworker about what he planned to do? It doesn't make any sense. In addition, once again, when the topic of mine shafts come up once in a while, for example, Laura Bible and Ashley Freeman, of course, there's been a lot of ideas and there was even some searches sending cameras down into some of these shafts or wells or whatever they are in Oklahoma. The first thing I start asking is, whoever caused this, was Josh Powell an expert in wells, abandoned wells or abandoned mine shafts? Did he take an interest in that? Would he have known exactly where to go and not be seen, not get caught? I've never read anything about that. I know for myself, how many wells are in Florida? Probably not many, because it's essentially a sandbar. But if I lived in a state like Texas or Oklahoma, where there were a lot of abandoned wells or abandoned pits or something like that, I'm pretty sure I still wouldn't know where to go to find one. Unless I really put that on the agenda. I'd start asking people, hey, do you know where there are abandoned mine shafts? So the whole thing just did not seem very believable to me, that she would be in a mine shaft. And it ended up not being true. These bones ended up being of an animal that probably fell down in there and couldn't get out. There were some clothes down in there, but I'm not sure if that really, surprises me or not. There's a lot of stuff blowing around out there in the world, and it stands to reason that maybe once in a while something's going to go down a hole somewhere. So, but it's been in the news. It seemed to me that, of course, this news did get some attention. I really don't know how many people really thought that those remains were going to be her, though. It certainly got a lot of attention, though, as it should. But I got to tell you, I'm pretty sure Susan Powell is not in any mine shaft or well anywhere. Just really, really do not believe that. And you have to start thinking about this. I'm not saying it's never happened, but how many missing people or murdered people are found in wells or mine shafts? Very, very few. Whereas we know a lot of cases where people were buried or they're stored somewhere or something like that. Whereas being found in a well or a mine shaft or abandoned like that, really, really rare. So, let's see here. Thank you, Delane. Thank you, Debbie. Oh my, I did mine. I can't believe the events surrounding her disappearance. It did affect me with the killing of her and the kids. Yeah, Joyce. It's one of the most horrible cases. Yeah, her husband was a sicko, and so was his dad. True. She was documenting all their belongings on video camera. Bad people hide behind religion. Look at you, Joyce. His dad was way beyond sick. Yeah, Marlene says she's back. eating her pizza, making me hungry. Her son said they left her at the camping place. If we only knew where that was, Charlotte. Yeah. Charlotte says, I followed this case from the beginning. Didn't they find her in a mine? No. They found bones in a mine, Charlotte, but they were animal. Cherie says they went camping and the children said mommy stayed where the crystals are. So it kind of makes sense because that's where they went camping. Crystals, maybe ice or snow, maybe, Cherie? Exactly. There have been some. Yeah. And once again, please hit the thumbs up before you leave tonight. We have less than a half hour to go. So I wanted to talk about that. I don't know if I've ever even talked about Susan Powell's disappearance on the live show ever. Just did not catch my attention very much. Of course, Steven's case, Coach's case, caught my attention much more because I lived right there. Jody Husentrut's got a lot of my attention back at the time, maybe some others. I don't know. Susan Powell's followed it, but that's about it. Shree says, yes, maybe it was freezing. Yeah, that would make sense. Richard Jones says, I have never, and then what happened there, Richard? You deleted it. Okay. Richard's going to try again. Okay. So let's move on to this. And I thank Cherie for telling me about this story. She thought that maybe I would get asked about it tonight, or you'd all want to hear about it. And this is the disappearances of these little boys, Oren and Orson West from Bakersfield, California. And they went missing allegedly just this past December in Bakersfield. And the story at the time was now these parents that they had, these were adoptive parents. I guess that they had fostered these two kids for a while and then became their actual parents on paper. The story was that Jacqueline, the mother, was inside doing something. Trezell was out in the backyard or something. And Oren and Orson, who were very little, maybe 3 and 4 years old, something like that, they were out in the front yard. And when Trezell, the father, went to find them out front, they weren't there. Starts driving around looking for them, can't find them, thinks they got abducted. Everybody, is up in arms and everything. And, this was a big story. I have to admit, I don't remember when it happened. I don't remember reading anything at the time, but now that I've looked back at it, certainly got a lot of attention. Of course, 2 little boys going missing is going to get attention. But now, here in early March of 2022, authorities in Bakersfield have decided that actually Trezell and Jacqueline are actually responsible for these 2 boys' deaths. And it's not something like they weren't paying attention. The authorities believe the parents murdered these 2 boys, killed them. And not just that. Authorities are saying that they actually believe that Oren and Orson went missing like 3 months before that. Oh, baby, this world, this third planet from the sun just gets to you sometimes. Now, what has transpired for them to think that? I don't know. Didn't say in any of the articles, but back in December a year ago. Yeah, I'm sorry, Debbie. Yes. Yeah, I think they were all, right, Giselle. But anyway, authorities now believe they went missing like 3 months before the date where the parents started, saying, oh, yeah, they went missing. And I caught what one of the neighbors said, and this is interesting. And just, you wouldn't even think about something like this. But the neighbor said, when this neighbor heard that the boys were outside playing and went missing, this neighbor said, I've never seen those boys out playing. And I think maybe that might have tipped off authorities to think maybe this disappearance happened well before the parents are letting on. They're saying they're playing outside, but this neighbor says that, yeah, I've never seen them outside. I haven't seen them for a while. I don't know what, these kids just happen to be playing out for the one time and they go missing. Well, that's kind of weird. But it's not clear to me, though, once again, why they're finally being charged all, now. Did somebody happen upon remains somewhere and they're just in the process of identifying it? Did one of them squeal to somebody, maybe feeling guilty about it? Did maybe one, they're both being charged, so it doesn't seem like one rolled over on the other. Now they had other children who were older. Did one of the other kids say something? I don't know. Maybe that'll eventually come out. But so once again goes to show why I'm leery. I continue to be leery about covering the disappearances of children, because you get stories like this. It's not enough that the kids go missing, but the parents did it. And not only that, but it's been covered up. It was covered up for at least, a few months or even longer than that. No. Now, why did these two parents, if we're to believe that they did it, that's where they were charged. We try to say innocent until proven guilty, but what could have been done? What could these kids have done? Remember, these two have other children who aren't missing, who are still alive. What was it about these two little boys? It's just sad. So, I don't know. Will they ever find these kids or whatever else? Maybe these two sold it. Maybe they didn't kill them. Maybe they sold them into sex trafficking or something. Maybe that's what happened. I'm not a huge believer in that, but maybe that's what happened. But Oren, Orin, and Orson, Orsin, West, little boys, 3 and 4 years old, and their parents have been charged with their disappearance. Yeah. No, Charlotte, it was not Susan Powell. Right, back again. Delane, I think we all knew they were not alive, so it was bittersweet that they were finally arrested. Okay. Delane, I've not been following it. I didn't know that it was so obvious to many people that these parents probably did this. How terrible, Jasmine. I had a feeling the parents had something to do with these kids' disappearance from the beginning. The Zavlor, none is going to be allowed. Little ones playing in front of the yard unsupervised. The DA confirmed they have not found the remains. Shri says, how can it not be intentional? One child hurt in anger or something evil, but two diabolical. Yeah, I don't know. You're right. I agree. I agree with Shri. I mean, did one little boy see the other little boy get killed? And so the other little boy, 3 or 4 years old, as we've talked about on this very program, the odds of these kids remembering anything from 3 or 4 years old is slim to none. We had that conversation way back with Linda K. Carroll, where her daughter was very young, son even younger. And, it is believed that Linda K. Carroll's estranged husband came and got her and dragged her out of her house, took her out to the car. The kids were there and then took her somewhere and killed her with the kids in the car. And the daughter has, and I've talked to her daughter, some very vague memory of this, but she's not sure if it was real or it was a dream. So even if one of these little boys saw something, the odds of them remembering it is just nothing, but still, I don't know. Delane says they had 2 biological kids, 2 foster kids, and 2 fosters they adopted. Neither parent had a job, so I think fostering was their income. Yeah, so if so, then why would they make these kids disappear? I just don't get any of this. Cherie, they moved to Cal City without the 2 boys, lived there for 3 months, and 3 days before Christmas, they were reported missing because they were going to be expected to be seen. Yeah. They adopted those 2 boys. Yes, Cherie. Cutting a deal with a murderer. I don't, get it. Going back to Kamisha Hollis, Richard. Yeah. Yeah, that's bad. Yeah. So there's that. And Sheree, thank you for telling me about this so I'd have an opportunity to talk about it. I think that it was just on the periphery of my paying attention to stuff. So I had a chance to read up on it today. You have any questions, anything anybody wants to ask me? We still got 15 minutes. That's usually, this would be about the time I start talking about the episode for this Friday, but there is no episode and I've already talked about that. So that would usually fill up the next 10 minutes or something, but I don't have anything like that for you tonight. Once again, if anybody tuned in late, that there will be no episode this Friday because I just want to make sure everything is all right with Spotify before I start uploading it, new episodes, and me working with all the buttons and the workflow this week. We'll make sure when I do upload the episode next week, I will know what I am doing. The Zavlor, did you finally buy the Audi Coupe? Zavlor, I'm not even sure. Was I looking at an Audi? I don't even, that's, I don't know where you got that, Zavlor. Please remind me if I said anything about that. I do not remember that for some reason. I will admit at one point I was looking at maybe getting rid of my Sonata, but I've decided I'm going to keep it. But it was not. I was not looking at an Audi Coupe. But so I was looking around, Zavlor, because it was just an idea, Zavlor. I actually went and got the car cleaned up, took pictures of it. Had some people contact me about it. I think I've kept the car in decent shape and everything. That was before I backed into the tree, of course. But then I was just like, you know what? I'm going to keep it. And, the thing is I think a lot of people know car prices are crazy. Seriously, my car right now, when I bought it, it's a 2016 Hyundai Sonata. It was a rental car that I bought from Hertz. It had 37,000 miles on it. The car now has close to 90,000 miles on it. And I could probably sell it what I bought it for. It's just crazy. It's just, when I was up in Pennsylvania, my cousin Ronnie came over to see my dad. And that's my cousin Ronnie is my mother's brother's son. And used to be way back in the day, I worked for my family and I worked for my cousin Ronnie and his father, my Uncle Ron. And we got talking about, car prices. And, and he's not in the car business anymore. He does something else now. But, it's just crazy. We can't imagine being in the car business right now and everything being so, topsy-turvy, upside down, cars being sold for over sticker price because of the demand and used car prices being like new cars. It's just a crazy world out there. Now, you would think this might be a good time to go buy one, but there's nothing wrong with this car that I have. And so I'm going to keep it. It's given me no problems. The only thing I've done to it is new tires, oil changes, and one of the headlights went out that I had to replace. That's it. And of course, once again, me backing into a tree. But, which is certainly not that damaged, but, so sometimes you don't want to mess with a good thing. If the car is going to run right, you just keep driving it. and it's not depreciating, at least not right now. So you might as well just keep driving it. If it was depreciating, maybe get worried about what you're going to get for it, but that's not a concern of mine at this point. But thank you for asking me about that. Charlotte said, I asked you if you listened to Eddie Van Halen's son, Wolfgang. You know, Charlotte, I never have. Maybe I should put that on my list of things to do. I did, and I do remember you asking me that above, and I'm sorry that I missed it. I've never listened to his son. You know, he went back and called his group Mammoth, which was the name of Van Halen before it was called Van Halen. So I promise to check it out, Charlotte, and I'll let you know what I think. But thank you, Zavlor, for asking me about the car. I was thinking about it. I was looking at a particular type of car to buy maybe last March, April. And I'm glad I decided against it, given everything that's gone on in the world and things. I'm glad I didn't. But it wasn't, and I will tell you this, it was not an Audi coupe. Delane's getting at her. Goodbye, Delane. Good to see you. Thank you for joining the membership. Wolfie wrote a tribute to song to his dad. I did download Spotify. Thank you, Debbie. And do you play in a band? I do not, Richard. I used to. Way back in high school, and we were pretty good. I played the keyboards. We had a good time. It was my best friend Doug, his brother, also my best friend Brad, a guy named Kirk Oberdorf, and a guy named Andy Ignatz. And we did some Deep Purple, Motley Crue, Steppenwolf, Born to Be Wild. We did a little bit of everything, and we were okay. And then we, all moved on to other things, but I do not play in a band. I do have a keyboard. I do have a guitar. I don't give them enough attention, frankly, and maybe I should start doing that. Dave Lombardo rejoined Testament. Once again, Zavlor, you're just catching me with bands that I don't follow that much. I know who Testament is. I could probably tell you, identify them if I heard a song. But once again, not one of my bands. My bands are Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, AC/DC, Megadeth, to a little lesser extent, Metallica. I love all the hair bands, Kiss, Def Leppard, Dokken. At some point it just gets a little too hard for me. For example, Pantera, too much. What else? Slayer, too much. I get to that edge and I can't go past that. So, good. And the tribute song is good. So good. I will check it out, Charlotte. I promise you. Charlotte, I heard about the tribute. Yeah. Iron Maiden playing in Tampa. Yeah. I have tickets, Screaming. I have 2 tickets. I'll be there. But, Down, the Zavlor Down. I don't know what that means. Doesn't Testament do a song called Return to Serenity? Richard, no. Was that in PA? Yeah, it was. When I played in the band in high school, that was in PA, Leechburg, PA. We played a lot of dances for the high school. We played the homecoming dance. I was only like in 9th grade. And we were playing the homecoming dance at Leechburg High School. So was that in PA? Yes, it was. Band. Yeah. So just maybe you named a couple bands, obviously very popular and stuff, but just not in my wheelhouse. Marlene says, hey, Ed, I taped a documentary on Priest on Reels. I need to watch it. I also taped Whitesnake also. Wow. That sounds pretty cool. I would watch those. I watched a documentary on Quiet Riot several years ago, maybe 2015. I thought that was pretty good. Thinking of going and seeing Maiden in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, about 5 hours. Screaming, you got to go. You just got to go. Zavler, is your car Bluetooth? It is. And I listen, and not only is Unfound now the platform on, it's on Spotify's platform, but I am a Spotify subscriber. So when I'm in the car, I'm listening to Spotify through Bluetooth in my car. Yeah. So there you go. All right. So we're finishing up with some music, which I always love. Yeah. Yeah. AC/DC. Of course you love AC/DC, the real. Of course you do. Them and Men at Work, right? Okay. That's a joke. I like Men at Work, though. I do. I grew up with them. So, Adventures of Personal Worker go on the Inbone Patron disappearance. Well, Cherie, keep us posted with that. I'll be interested to see where they go and start searching. I'll be very, very interested. All right, everyone. Love talking the music at the end. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for those of you who joined the membership tonight. And if you're watching in the replay, I think you should consider joining the membership too. That's all I have for tonight. And Laura says, now I know I'm old. Yeah, I'm old too, Laura. Everybody, stay safe out there. Try to stay positive. Hopefully things will get better at some point soon. And give this video a thumbs up. And talk to you later. Thank you so much.